Okay, good evening, everyone. So, this will be your review for your upcoming periodical test. Okay, so let us talk about first what multimedia is. Also, multimedia is a form of communication that uses a combination of different forms such as text, audio, images, animation, or video into a single interactive presentation. And then, what are the components of multimedia? These are text, audio, images, animations, or video. So texts are important words and symbols in any form of spoken and written, and these are the most common type of communication. Now, texts are the simplest and most effective way to get one's message. And remember that if there is insufficient attention given to the presentation and flow of text within multimedia applications, it can result in failure to communicate the presentation's central message. Now, let us know what audio is. Okay, so an audio, okay, is it can enhance multimedia applications in a number of ways. For example, delivering lectures over the web, just like this one, podcasts, and music is also used to add interest and emotion into a presentation. And other non-speech audio is also used as a part of a general interface. Okay, let us know what images are. Now, images, on the other hand, are representation of external form of a person or thing in art. Okay, so the general impression of that person, organization, or product presents to the public. Okay, so images, as you are familiar with it, these are the pictures that you see. All right. Animation is a stimulation of movement created by a series of illustrations of photographs displayed in a rapid succession. Okay. And video is a series of electronic signals used to generate a steady source of images which stimulate movement. Okay. And videos can also utilize graphics, pictures, or text and are also used for entertainment, education, and other purposes. Now let us talk about the uses of multimedia. Multimedia has many, many uses. There are various uses of multimedia: creative industries, entertainment, educational technology, social work purposes, communication, journalism, research, and interior designing. Let us now move on to the four levels of pitch. So, pitch has four levels. The fourth one is the very high. It is the highest level for emphasis of primary word. And the third one is the high level. Most common primary words stress syllable. For the second one is the low level, the neutral level, or the normal tone that we use when speaking. It is used to start a thought group. And for the last one is the very low level or the lowest level, often the last pitch of thought group. Okay, now what is pitch? Pitch, it is the degree of highness and lowness of a tone or voice. Now, intonation, on the other hand, is a variation of pitch in which or in the spoken language, and the volume refers to how loud or how soft your voice is. Okay, now let us talk about pitch first. So pitch refers to how high or low a speaker's voice is. And as with other vocal qualities, there are natural variations among people's vocal pitch. Okay, unlike rate and volume, there are more physiological limitations on the control we have over pitch. For example, for the males, generally, they have lower pitch than those of the female. Despite these limitations, each person still has the capability to intentionally change their pitch across a range large enough to engage an audience. Okay, so let us now move on to the volume. Wait, intonation first. Intonation, it is the variation of pitch in a spoken language. If you do not have intonation, then you cannot convey the right message when you are speaking. Okay, you have the right to have the right intonation. Okay, it can be a rising or a falling intonation. And then in volume, Volume refers to how loud or soft your voice is. As with speaking rate, if you want to avoid the extremes of being too loud or being too soft, but still very acceptable middle range. And when speaking in a typically sized space or setting, okay, so your volume should be few steps above the typical conversation. So your voice when speaking in front should be a little louder, since if there is a bit more space than usual, you have to make your voice louder. Okay, but if you're speaking with someone who is only in front of you, then you should vary your volume as well. Okay, so let's talk about what rising intonation is. So rising intonation describes how the voice rises at the end of a sentence, and rising intonation is common in yes no questions. I have discussed this during our class before. Now, rising intonation is used when there is a question answerable by yes or no. Have you eaten? So the intonation is rising, the end. Okay. Have you eaten? Okay. Do you think I'm beautiful? Okay. So if your question is not answerable by yes or no, for example, where are you going? Okay. What food do you want? Okay. What time are you coming to school? That is, okay, falling intonation. Those questions are not answerable by yes or no. Let's talk about what phrasing is. So from the root word phrase, okay, you do it by phrase. Okay, so phrasing is the ability to chunk words into phrases. It is an important aspect of fluent reading. The purpose of phrasing is to enhance the meaning of the other words in the phrase in which they are placed. Now, if you do not know how phrasing works, then you seem to be speaking like a robot. Okay, for example, let us have the sentence: Good morning, my name's teacher Krista. I am the teacher here today. Okay, let's say that will be your sentence. Let's say that you do not know how phrasing works. Okay, let us read it without phrasing. Good morning, my name's Krista. I am your teacher for today. Okay, that's continuously spoken. That's not the correct way in speaking because you seem to sound like a robot. Now, if you know how phrasing works, this will be the right way. Good morning. My name is Krista and I am your teacher today. Okay? You know when to stop. Okay? You know when to where to divide the words, where to put a pause. Okay? And their phrasing will give more emphasis on how you communicate, how you wanted to convey your message. Right? Now, stress. We have talked about stress several times already. So, stress is the relative emphasis that may be given to certain syllables in a word or to certain words in a phrase or sentence. Okay, and syllable stress in words. Now, the common the common example that we had was the word present and present. Okay? It has the same spelling, but if we put it in different syllable stress, then there will be a different meaning. For example, if we put the stress in the first syllable, the meaning of present will be gift. Okay, if we put the syllable on the if we put the stress on the second syllable, it will be present. So it'll be a verb. Okay, it means the manner of presenting. So that is stress in syllables in words. Let us now try sentence stress. Okay, let's have the example sentence. I'll go to the cinema next Friday. Okay, so let us put the stress on the word I'll. Okay, I'll go to the cinema next Friday. The stress is located on the word I'll, so I am referring to me, not anybody else. Okay, let us put now the stress on the word cinema. I'll go to the cinema next Friday. Okay, so I am emphasizing that I am going to the cinema not on the theater, not on the park, or not anywhere else, right? Next one. Let us put the stress on the word next. Okay, I'll go to the cinema next Friday. Okay, I am emphasizing that I am mm, going to the cinema next Friday, not this Friday, not next Friday. It's next Friday. Okay, next one. I'll go to the cinema next Friday. The stress is located on the word Friday. Okay, so I am emphasizing that I am going to the cinema next Friday, not on next Thursday, not on Monday, not uh, um, other days, but Friday. Let's talk about accent. So, accent is a phonetic trait from a person's original language that is carried over into a second language. Now, if you have a distinct accent because you're coming from a place where there's a distinct accent, then that can affect your communication, your oral communication. Now, having an accent affects our ability to pronounce consonants and vowels in English or any other second language. And accents only become a problem if they interfere with your ability to communicate or affect your academic or professional success. Let's talk about nonverbal communication. This is the lesson of Ma'am Jessica a while ago. So let us emphasize more and dig deeper into the topic. So, what is nonverbal communication? From the word itself, you are communicating without using words. Okay, it means conveying information without using words. And this might involve using certain facial expressions, hand gestures to make a specific point, okay? Or it could involve the use or non-use of eye contact, or physical proximity, and other nonverbal cues to get a message across. Okay, now, how do we communicate nonverbally? Okay, by the use of facial expressions. Let us have an example. For example, you want to tell the person you're speaking to that you do not like what's happening on your surroundings. Then you make a facial expression. Okay, something like that. Or something funny, but you do not want to anyone to hear that you're having fun with what's happening on your surroundings. For example, then you give a smile. Okay, you can laugh, but without verbal communication. Okay, gestures. For example, someone is asking you, "Where did you put my ball pen?" Diba? As Filipinos, what do? We point through our mouths, pouting. Okay, that's how we communicate verbally when we are pointing into something. Okay, another is gestures. Okay, or the movements of the hand and body. Okay, for example, okay, you want someone to do something or to bring something to another place, like, okay, hand gestures. You want to tell someone that you don't know, you do, okay, you do that. That's nonverbal communication because you're trying to convey a message without saying any word. Okay, that's nonverbal communication. Another is, okay, paralinguistics, or the loudness or tone of voice. No, no. Yes, yes. That has a different meaning. Okay. Next one, body language. Okay, the movements or reactions of the body. For example, someone is trying to serve you food, but you do not like the food because you're allergic to it, but you don't want to say a word. Okay, for example, and then you're like, okay, that's body language, right? Proxemics or personal space, the distance of a person to another person. Okay, for example, you're speaking to a person who's someone you do not like. Okay, usually that person or you as a person will speak to them with a distance. Okay, but if you like the person you're talking to, okay, you seem to be close. That will be what's happening. You'll be close to them while speaking, okay, because you like the person. Okay, next is eye contact. Now, eye contact has a very big impact to someone you're speaking to. Okay, It builds trust, okay, authenticity. When you're looking at the person eye to eye, then you're more reliable, you're more trustworthy. You appear to be like that. Okay, appearance, okay, is how you look, how you dress, okay, how clean you are, okay, and then artifacts, objects and images we show to someone. Okay, we can communicate non-verbally by giving things. Okay, for example, you know someone is already hungry, you may pass them food. It means that you are trying to convey a message that you are actually conscious and what do you call this? Um, you are thoughtful enough to offer them food because you are aware that they are already hungry. That's one kind of nonverbal communication with artifacts. Okay, let us now move on to the factors that influence in developing a selection. Now, what are selections? The texts, the literary texts that you read. Okay, now, as I have said before in our past discussions, for example, an artwork, there is a certain influence or there is a what you call this an inspiration behind why uh an art is being created by the artist. Okay, for example, an artist created a painting with a mother and a son. So one influence that we can see there is the love of the parent to the child or the child's love to the parent. Okay, so there can always be factors that can influence in developing selections. Okay, first one, environment. Okay, it refers to the conditions and influences that affect the growth, the health, and the progress. Okay, the health, etc., or someone. So okay, what happened to this one? All right, next one is culture. Okay, from the word itself, cultural influence. Okay, and it refers to the beliefs, customs, way of life of a particular society, group, place, or time. One example that we had here is the painting of Fernando Morsola, I think, the girl holding a basket with fruits. Okay, so we can see there is a traditional way of the girl wearing a Filipiniana. She's wearing a Filipiniana there, and she's holding a basket. And um, the the artist said that the influence of that certain painting is actually the um, the peace and the beauty of Filipinas. Okay, that is the influence of that painting. All right, next one, history. History is the study of the past events that relate to a particular subject, place, or organization, etc. One example we had here was the March of Death in Bataan. That story was influenced actually by the war that happened in Bataan before. So, literary texts can be influenced by history, right? And then the history is the inspiration of literary texts. So they got the idea of creating a story from the real events that happened in the past, such as the war that happened in Bataan. Social, okay, how we interact with others. One example of this is the girl in New York, okay? So that story was actually inspired by social. Why? Because she actually grew up in, I think that was in Manila, somewhere in Manila. And then she went to New York, and then she suddenly changed her habits, her way of life. She even created a new story about her parents, okay? So that she could blend in with the new life that she has in New York. So there are several factors that influence in developing a selection. Okay, let us now move on to expressions used in disagreeing. Okay, in spoken English, just saying I disagree is often too direct. Most English speakers use phrases that are modified to be more polite. okay, or indirect methods to express disagreement. Now, these expressions, you may use this in disagreeing, okay? You use this in your sentences, all right? So, first one is, I don't think so. No way. I'm afraid I disagree. I totally disagree. I beg to differ. I'd say the exact opposite. Not necessarily. That's not always true. That's not always the case. No, I am not so sure about that. Now, these expressions, you may use them if you are disagreeing with someone you're talking to, with the thoughts that they have, with their opinions. But you should always keep in mind that your tone should vary so that you cannot convey a message, the wrong message, by speaking with the wrong tone so that it could not lead to misunderstandings. Okay, let us talk about opinion, belief, and conviction. Now, an opinion is a view or judgment formed about something, not necessarily based on fact or knowledge. Opinions are personal. Okay, each and every one of us has opinions on something. Okay, in English grammar today, we use opinion as a noun to mean beliefs or judgments about someone or something. So, for example, we have here, I think the Warriors will get beat by the Lakers tonight. That's one example of an opinion because of the words I think. Okay? I think it's going to rain this afternoon. So it's not necessarily based on fact or knowledge because it's just personal opinion. I think solely distance learning for students is a bad idea. Okay, it's not backed up by any kind of fact or knowledge. Okay, what is belief? Belief is an acceptance that a statement is true or that something exists. Okay, what would be your signal word here? It's believe. I believe that professional sports are an important part of American culture. I believe that it's difficult to predict the weather. Okay? I believe that our educational system needs reform and we must find ways to make college more affordable. Okay? Next one, conviction, a firmly held and stable long-term belief. Okay, from the root word convince. So you are convinced of something. Why are you convinced by something? Because, okay, it is backed up by facts and information. That's why you are convinced of something. Okay? I'm convinced that extracurricular activities, properly framed, can be a great teacher for young people. Okay, you are convinced because, okay, it is backed up by facts, by information. While a belief is formed through time, experience, and influence. Okay? Beliefs can still change through time. What you believe now can change tomorrow because of whatever can happen. Okay? While conviction, you are convinced because, for example, this thing you believe this thing because it has evidences. It is backed up. Okay? And then with beliefs and conviction, you can formulate your opinion. Okay. Next, okay, assertion and reaction. We have tackled this topic last meeting. Okay, your last meeting with me was about formulating assertions. Okay, I formulating reactions from assertions. Now, what are assertions? Assertion is used to let the readers feel that they should agree with what they read or hear, while reaction is an action taken in response to something. Okay, our example last meeting was, okay, the advertisement of Downy Passion. They said there that the right scent can change the way people see you. Then I asked you if you agree or disagree with the statement given by Downy. That is their tagline. Okay, the right scent can change the way people see you. They laid it out to you. Okay, they are trying to sell their product by giving assertions. Okay? They are letting you feel that you should agree with what they are telling you. Okay? So your reaction, I ask you if you agree or disagree. You said you agree. Okay? So your action could be yes. Pleasant scents can make you leave a good impression. Okay. Now, when giving reactions, I have shared with you this table wherein you'll see some words to use in giving reactions. When giving reactions, of course, you could be in the positive or the negative side, or the pro and the con, the yes and the no. Okay, in the positive side, you may use absolutely, definitely, obviously, surely, very, certainly, exactly, really, truly, and yes. While in the negative side, you may use the following words: almost, invalidly, no or not, probably, scarcely, contradictorily, never, no longer, and rarely. Let us have a refresher for our topic: thought provoking questions. Raising sensible, challenging, thought provoking questions. What are thought provoking questions? Thought provoking question is a type of question that causes you to think seriously about something. It contains interesting ideas that can make you think a lot. Okay, now thought provoking questions are questions that are open ended and usually start with why and how. These questions are uh, often triggers your critical thinking. Okay, these are questions not answerable by yes or no. Okay. One example is the problem solving process. Okay. These are the ones that make the other person assess, diagnose, and think of a possible action. What are the examples of thought provoking questions under problem solving process? What is the issue or the problem at hand? That is the process of assessing. What is the root cause of this issue or problem? That is how the process of diagnosing. How can we solve the issue? Okay. This, you think of a possible action. Second, compare and contrast. These are about similarities and differences between ideas. One example: what are the differences between traditional media and social media? You compare and you contrast. Okay? You see the similarities and differences between two things. Okay. Interpretive and evaluative. These are about the intention or goals of the author, creator, character, or others. When you interpret, you explain the meaning of information, words, or actions. When we evaluate, it is when we form an idea of the amount, number, or value of assess. Okay? Now, what is the purpose of the author in writing the story? You evaluate. Okay? How about conceptual changes? These are based on self reflection. It encourages to express opinion about the subject of the question. Okay, conceptual, from the word conceptual, you relate or you base on mental concepts. Okay, for example, which do you think is better? Which one do you like and why? Okay, now let's move on to the second to the last one: personal exploration. From the word itself, you explore your personal thinking, okay? Personal opinions. These are based on one's personal idea or exploration. It encourages personal connection with the subject of the question. One example: how important is a flower to you? Okay? What is the importance of this thing to you? Okay? And the last one: moral or ethical dilemmas. These are questions that can make the other person think whether something is morally or ethically right. Okay? When we say dilemma, it means a situation in which a difficult choice has to be made. Morally right means acts or activities that are allowed, and ethically right follows the standards of good and bad. What is one example of this? Okay. Is it okay to let another person answer your module for you? Why or why not? So this question triggers your critical thinking of whether something is right or wrong.